Aloha, I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and I conduct work life video interviews with career professionals that become an all intuitive conversation. Aloha, and welcome to another episode of All Intuitive Conversation. I connect with career professionals, all in the hopes of encouraging me, them, and you to live smart and ascend to new levels of success in their work, in their life. Today, I have the pleasure of connecting with Joshua. So, Joshua and I have a little bit of a history, you see. He entered my LinkedIn Dropbox message form, and he basically asked me, he said, "Hey, I've seen some of your shows, and how do you make money? Because on your website, you're not advertising any of your services, so to speak." And that started an intriguing conversation between the two of us. So let me bring Joshua to the screen. Aloha, Joshua.
That's the big problem in my life, and maybe I'm more worried about others than I am about myself.
Well, it's interesting because, I am always used to, being the one kind of asking those challenging questions and having that experience. So it was very interesting to have that presented to me. I was like, okay, like, what is this guy talking about, and where is this going? But it started our connection to where it really did help me to evaluate what
Awesome.
was I doing, as far as in, did I want to have this as a particular business, or what was the case may be.
Yeah.
But it was just, when it's coming from a stranger or someone that I had never even met before, it was just like,
Right.
But at the same time, I know how the spirit team works, and they bring those divine messages when you are ready. So that was back in December of last year, and here we are in May of 2023, and I haven't spoken since then.
Yeah.
So tell me, what have you been up to? What's going on in your life?
Well, basically, right at this point, I'm traveling around the United States, trying to figure out where I'm going to live and if I connect with anybody as I'm traveling around the United States. So it's been about a year and a half, because I lived 34 years in Europe, 18 years in Sweden, 16 in Italy. And I just left Italy 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago, to come back to the United States and to try and, I'm from Maine, and I'm in Maine right now. I just got back here a couple weeks ago, but I've been for a year and a half driving around the United States, trying to see where, personally and professionally, I might be able to fit in somewhere in the United States and find a new home. I'm a skier climber, so there's some stipulations there. About.
So you like to be in nature, as I can see from the background. Yes.
And what's really saddening to me, or I don't know if it's saddening, disillusioning, is that
saddening. First part came out. Yes.
Okay, is that I expected to come back to the United States, finding a far more open culture to the sort of alternative stuff I do. I work with, I do craniosacral, different types of polarity therapy, touch for health, shiatsu, deep tissue massage. I've worked with, world-class athletes, and recently I've been, for the past 15 years, I've been working with something called neurosensory motor integration, which sounds terrible. Like, what the hell is neurosensory motor integration? And it actually is probably the alternative therapist's biggest friend. And it's the neuroprogramming behind basically taking sensory input, which could be visual, auditory, could be touch, could be balance, it could be visual. Anything that's coming in through our senses elaborates it and creates a coherent motor output. So if something scares you, sensory input, you scream, right? That's a motor output because of your vocal cords and your diaphragm. That's a motor output. Some people might be just throwing a punch at whatever it is coming at them, right? So it depends on how we're organized as to what our response is going to be. Are we fight? Are we flight? Or are we freeze? And then there's a whole bunch of different that's like the first layer, right? Fight, flight. How do we deal with new information? And so for many alternative people, or even people kind of in a sense in your line of work, we look to the spiritual world for these answers, or the emotional, psychological world for why is it that I'm reacting the way I'm reacting to this information, right? Part of it is obviously, social family interactions. And so we learn that when somebody does something, we react it in a certain way. And but there's also, even there, not all the kids in the same family react to it in the same way, react to their parents in the same way. Each kid reacts. So even there, we can go down into the different neuropostural programs and pinpoint exactly where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. And from a very holistic, non-toxic, pure touch-based, you can do the exercise, so it doesn't even have to be touch-based. But we can work through so many things. And, it goes so deep as to, being raped or molested, to children having learning and behavioral problems, which is how I got into it for my son, for his absolute inability to figure out how to do math. 2 + 2 at 5 years old, he could not figure it out. And he was not a stupid kid. And so I understood that there was something deeper than just simply intellect. There was obviously some switch in there that didn't get turned on. So for dyslexia, for all these different problems, there is actually a very simple movement-based treatment training program that we can. So I'm going around the United States talking to physical therapists. I'm talking to massage therapists. I'm talking to people that work with children that are having difficult times. I'm talking with psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, teachers. I'm talking with everybody. And their only response is, I don't think so, thanks. Like you don't even want to talk. No, I have been shut off here in the United States, like nowhere else in Europe. And so I don't know if, it's I don't understand. So yeah, I don't understand. I mean, not to say that in Europe they were closed-minded, or totally open-minded. I mean, but there was far more openness. I worked in many, many schools and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children. We've gone through the program, and it wasn't only the kids who were the ADHD or the ADD kids or whatever that were getting better. All the kids were raising up. So the bell curve, kind of looked the same, unfortunately, for the difficult kids. But it was amazing that all the kids were rising. Doesn't matter where they were, sort of in the spectrum of difficulties, because nobody's perfect, right? Everybody has these. So Felicia, I'm stumped. I have I'm really at, in a sense, a low place as far as knowing what to do, and in a sense that's also bringing me to this place of accepting that I really absolutely cannot control anything. So I'm going to just this other level of like letting go and letting, in a sense, the universe. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, like I said, it would kill me if I could not continue passing on this information to other people, and helping, working and teaching with this stuff. But I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do with myself right now.
All right. So you immediately have 4 cards
Okay.
that that fell out, and each one of them has pretty much told the story of what you were talking about.
Okay.
The first one here that came out talked about
Somebody jumping out a window?
no, just up at night, worried, concerned, and it literally says on this card, unfounded fear, expecting the worst, thus creating self-fulfilling prophecies, allowing worry to grow out of proportion to the situation, sleepless nights, refocus your thoughts.
So that's so true. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yep. No. So the next one that came out was this king, and you talked about, traveling and all the different things that you have been doing to spread this word. And it says on this card, trustworthy, honorable, devoted, cautious, someone you can completely trust, a situation that is safe. Hidden but well-intentioned emotions, a charitable benefactor, seeing a counselor. So when you were talking about you going to all these therapists and counselors and all this, wanting to bring your cup of knowledge and emotions and telling them about this whole situation, this solution that you potentially have to help individuals, right? The next one, you in nature with all the trees. But the difference is these trees have been cut off and they're sitting on the stumps, but they still have this whole world traveling view mindset in their hand. It says on this card, taking the next steps, bold and ambitious choices, partnering with others who share your dreams. And so what you're kind of running into right now is not finding those individuals that share this understanding and dream of how we can help individuals improve themselves through the science that you have. It says also expanding your plans, then it encourages you by saying continue to move forward. And then finally, the last night when you said taking it to the next level, and this individual is raised above, and you have individuals there with kids, which you were talking about, how this story kind of helped you with your son in the personal, but just seeing it to the next level. But it's about renewal. It's about the change of how you want to make things different. And it says on this card, reviewing the past with compassion and forgiveness, time to head in a new direction, clarity on your life purpose. In your heart, you know what to do. So one of the things that when we had our initial conversation, you were like, bring it. Let's, have this real talk conversation. So here it is. What do you need to do differently in order to change how you are presenting this information to individuals?
So I don't know if it's the way that I'm presenting it as much as I really, really believe that first card is the really big problem. Yeah. This dude, like, I am sure that, I don't know, like, it's hard to describe because there's no reason why I should be sure that things aren't going to work out, because I know the results, on a, really high level stage. I know that it, surprises me every time that actually we get this. It's really, and actually there's one other little special piece to this whole thing, is that going through these different neuro programs, cleaning the neurological system out and being the pathways for expression, that it showed me truly that we have a soul. So that in a sense, this has even brought to the table a scientific way to prove that there's something beyond our neurology. We're not just a product of our neurology, which is basically a product of evolution on the planet, right? From the fish to the reptilians to the mammals to the human. And by the way, what is a human? Reptilians to fish to reptilians is obvious. Reptilians to mammals, obvious. What's the step? What are we, 2.0 mammals, or are we actually something more? And that right there is understanding that little difference is huge in, and what's really sad is that I haven't had people who I've taught this stuff to be around me long enough to be able to benefit from my own work, to work through some of this stuff.
Because each card you were alone.
Yeah.
You were alone.
Yes.
Briefly, you had someone there. And then back alone.
Yeah.
And then the next card that came out is like, okay, Emmanuel, what does Joshua need to hear? So the next one that came out was number 1, the Bone Collector. And you see, he's sitting out in nature, just like you are.
Yeah.
And this is what this card says, Joshua. You are whole and have everything you need within. When the Bone Collector appears, she is asking you to look closely at your circumstances to see if you are fully present or reaching out of past conditioning and unconscious expectations. Whenever we're wounded, especially when we're young, it's as if something essential is stolen from us. We adapt and accept a version of the truth that then sets us up to behave in a certain way in the future when faced with a situation similar to the original event. What we know about ourselves thus becomes influenced by our perception of limitation. You may feel unworthy or without courage. You may see yourself as flawed or unlovable or expect to be criticized. The Bone Collector reminds you that the truth is that you are a powerful being with limitless possibilities. She has kept safe what was stolen from you in the wounding and here for you as you reclaim it now. You have everything you believe you lack, and the Bone Collector is your inner resource. As if you have what you need and you'll find you have it all. Anything is possible. With awareness, the wounds of the past need not define you.
That was a mouthful. Holy cow.
And how does that resonate with you?
I like that has been the theme of just quiet moments when I'm thinking, after meditation, usually during meditation, I'm concentrating about breathing and getting my posture right and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm not really thinking about too much. But then afterwards, just enjoying that that centeredness and all that good stuff. Like, that's just one of the things that keeps coming, like this idea of, well, I mean, I know who my mother is. I know who my family is, like no mystery. And I know how I've reacted throughout my life. I'm not 20 years old, so I have a lot of good history to watch myself in, and it seems like for sure there's exactly like I said, doubting myself, questioning myself, and there's absolutely no good reason for that today. I mean, good, a healthy dose of introspectiveness and humbleness is all good, but this like heavy self-doubt and quite sure that they're going to reject me and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Definitely doesn't stem from.
Because when you go in with that energy, if that's already subconsciously, it's self-fulfilling.
So, and I really, when I think it shows also that this level of rejection, so with people absolutely that don't know anything about me, and there is absolutely no reason why, like, to do a little bit of warm up before they go climbing with troubled kids. Why would if it's proved? Why would so? In a sense, I really believe that it shows how close I am to that world right now, that it's immediate and it's real and it comes straight back at me. Yeah.
It's in your hand.
Yeah. What's that?
The world. I mean, it's in your hand. It's right there.
Oh, yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah. And then I go and I beat myself up because I'm not stopping to beat myself up. Yeah.
So stop it.
So it's a double whammy there in a sense. I get upset because I'm not letting go of all that stuff, that self-doubt, and yeah.
So his question is coming through. What would your son say to you in this particular situation? Dad, do this. What would he say?
I have no idea.
You know why? Because the moose that came through, he says, because you know what's best for you. Moose, authority. Discouraging you to work on the authority. You know the benefits of this particular program.
Yeah.
Go forth. Share. But if you're doubting yourself, you're just going to continue to have that self-fulfilling prophecy of people are not going to be like, I don't want to deal with that. Now, that does not mean that you don't, take that reflection. Because just like you and I met, you come along and have someone tell you something that's like, okay, now let me really reflect and think about maybe how I do present this. Maybe the words or the language that I use is not resonating. So maybe you have to do a fine tweak there.
Yeah.
But you definitely got to release the self-doubt because that's not happening, allowing you to reach people. So when you have both of those, self-doubt and then maybe something that's not aligning with the people that you're reaching, then you're sitting there frustrated, having all these fears for no reason.
Yeah.
So telling me to read.
Can you excuse me? Could you explain that card again? The moose.
Yep. So that's why I was like, I'm going to read what it says. So the moose talks about authority. You know what is best for you. And it says, in spite of the pressures from others, your own conditioned fears, embed shame and advice from the best of friends, ultimately is up to you to make the choices you make. Realizing this fully not only gives you greater freedom and autonomy, but also places the responsibility squarely on your shoulders for those choices. Your karma has brought you to this place in your life, and it's time to trust your inner guidance above and beyond any other counsel you've gotten. It's your life, and you can do whatever you choose. That is why you didn't have an answer when you said, what would your son tell you? Because you know what you're supposed to do already for your life. It can still be useful to listen to others. Like I said, it's still useful to listen to others and seek help when you need it. However, no matter what your suggestions or ideas you get, see if and how they resonate with you. Don't blindly trust anyone's input. Instead, use your intuition and intelligence to see what fits and what doesn't. Like I was saying, what do you need to tweak that works so that kind of aligns with other individuals? There's no need to be obedient to anyone anymore. You're it. The only exception, and it's a major one, is to heed the voice of the Creator as it manifests in a number of different ways inside and outside of you. That is the ultimate voice of authority and will never steer you wrong. Additional associations work with warrior, self-esteem, balance, and fearlessness. When we go back to what we said, your self-esteem and you have fear. Yeah. It's blocking you and getting in your way of your purpose and your goal. You know what to do, Joshua.
Amen.
Now go do it. Joshua, it has been a pleasure connecting with you. I do hope that you have encouraged to live smart and ascend to new levels of success. Thank you for those that have watched.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. If you're interested in being a guest on All Intuitive Conversation, drop me a message here on LinkedIn. And until we meet again, this has been an episode of All Intuitive Conversation.